What's up, CrossFit Federal Way? So it is Wednesday, and today we're going to be getting ourselves into a bit of a chipper. So, again, starting with our general warm-up, which I won't preface because it's day 3. We should kind of know what our general warm-up is. But again, just a reminder, you should be warming up before we do these things. Lightweight or not, should be getting our body ready. Now, the workout itself is going to be some bigger sets, more of a traditional chipper. So, it's going to start off with 60 BackPack Deadlifts. What I'm going to encourage is this is the only movement we are using a backpack for today. Try to make it as heavy as you can. If you have access to a bar, if you have access to dumbbells or kettlebells, using something else to increase that loading is going to be great. So try to keep these heavy-ish. I would say if we're in the gym and I was programming this for the gym, under a normal circumstance, and having this amount of reps, having 120 deadlifts total in this workout, I would probably put it at maybe like anywhere from 135 to 185, depending on what the rest of our week looked like. So 135-pound deadlift should not be that heavy. All the more reason why we should be thinking about big sets with this too. So try to go as heavy as you can. So add some extra weight to that backpack. You're just picking it up to your hips and putting it back down. You don't have to worry about other stuff and moving things around. So try to add some extra weight there. It's okay if you don't have that much and you're just using what you got. That's kind of what the season's about for a lot of us. So just do your best on that. Now, so we're going to start off again, 60 backpack deadlifts, then into 60 box jump overs. If you have a box, 24 inches for guys, 20 inches for gals, pretty standard box jump overs. What I would say a good sub for this is any sort of jump over. You can either do tuck jumps or find anything to jump over. Doesn't matter if it's low, doesn't matter if it's high. Ideally, if we're going for a 24-inch or a 20-inch box, try to find something that's going to be somewhat equivalent. And it's okay if you're jumping over something to not have your feet touch the top. So when I demo the box jump overs, I can show you, I might have enough room in here to do one without touching. But when I demo these, you do not have to worry about landing on top of your object. If you're jumping over an odd object, just try to clear that object every time. So 60 box jump overs, then 30 handstand push-ups, then back up, 60 box jump overs again, 60 backpack deadlifts, time. So this is going to be a very low body, aggressive hip opening type workout for everything except for the handstand push-ups. Now, if you are kipping your handstand push-ups, then you're using that same aggressive hip open. Your hip flexors and everything like that are going to be pretty tired from both of these leading up to that. So keep that in mind. The muscle fatigue will set in. That second set of 60 of both of these will be a tad bit more challenging than the first 60, not just because of volume, but just because of muscle redundancy and using that same sort of hip opening on every single movement in this workout. So that's what we're getting ourselves into. Let's talk a little bit about standards, starting with our backpack deadlifts. Now, if I'm deadlifting my backpack, I want to be able to create as much range of motion as possible. So don't think about holding it at the side and lowering or decreasing that range of motion. Try to think about turning your backpack sideways. That way you've got to go a little bit lower. It might be lower than what you would use for a barbell, but again, with the weight being a little lighter on these, that should be okay. So grabbing it while it's on the ground, standing up until my hips are open, my shoulders are stacked over my hips. We don't want to see shortened range of motion, so don't think that this feels like a good deadlift. You need to squeeze your butt at the top and get those hips through. But that backpack should touch the floor every time, or whatever you are using, dumbbells, kettlebells, barbell. A lot of us have equipment at this point, so we might be using different implements, and that's okay. Either way, the deadlift is the deadlift. Hits the ground, stand all the way up. That is our backpack deadlifts. Moving on to the box jump overs. These do not have to be lateral. You can face the box, but you don't have to stand all the way up at the top. So when I jump up at the top, I can keep low and pop over. I don't have to worry about standing all the way up as I'm going over. Now, box jump overs, if you can clear it all the way, which I've got very little clearance on the other side, so I'm going to skip that. But if you can, you don't have to have your feet touch the top. You can jump all the way over, and that will still count. It's more energy. It's more aggressive of a hip open to do that. Generally speaking, people will cycle them faster if they can clear it. but it is a lot harder to maintain. So with a set of 60, every time you come to these, finding something that's more sustainable is probably the better option. And I know for me, resting at the top, standing up on the top of the box, and resting there usually tends to work out pretty well. So if I'm tired, I'll hang out here for a second and rest, and then either step down and right into my next box step over, or it's okay. Work with what we have, right? So it's either that, or if I'm okay at box jumps, rebounding isn't always encouraged because we see a lot of Achilles injuries and things like that, or some greater risk for that. But if your Achilles is healthy and you feel confident, rebounding works pretty well on box jump overs. So landing, turning around, rebounding every time tends to keep that cycle rate a little higher. That way every time your feet hit the ground, that's a good rep. And again, if I need to rest, I can rest on top of the box. If I have the option of landing there. If not, whatever your odd object is or anything that you're jumping over, just try to clear it every time. 2 foot takeoff, 2 foot landing. Pretty standard on the box jump overs. And then the last thing is going to be our handstand pushups. So if you have a good place to do handstand pushups, which is a little harder to find those things now, given your space or in the living room or something else, a good place to kick up is sometimes challenging. You can use strict overhead press with either your backpack or dumbbells or kettlebells or a barbell in place of handstand pushups, depending on what kind of equipment you have access to and if you don't have a spot to do handstand pushups on the wall. But what we're looking for is I want my head to touch the ground and full extension at the top. So on the wall, I don't have to do these strict, I can do them kipping. So I'm going to come down and big kip into my handstand pushup, sending my head back through my arms at the top. I don't want to see or hear about handstand pushups where you're finishing in this awkward position where your head's back behind your shoulders, or shoulders behind your hands, excuse me. Make sure that the only thing touching the wall at the top is your heels, and that you're in a good position as though you were finishing an overhead press with a barbell. That's what we're shooting for on all of those reps. It's the only thing we're going overhead for in this workout. So by the time you get through your deadlifts and your jump overs, yeah, you might be tired and breathing heavy, but you only got 30 of those handstand push-ups to take care of. So your shoulders only have to hang on for just a little bit. But still be smart. Big sets often lead towards failure. And when you fail a handstand push-up, it takes a lot longer to get them back than it does to come down when things get hard. Shake it out, take a little bit of a rest, kick up, and get a few more reps. So plan on how you're going to attack these in the middle, and then just keep chipping away at everything else. So that's what we're getting ourselves into. Not really sure how long this one's going to take, because the load of your deadlifts will vary probably dramatically for a lot of us, depending on what we have at home. But that's all right. If you have a light weight, go hard and fast. If you have a heavier weight, attack it like a traditional chipper is done. Chip away. Do small sets, short rest, keep moving, have a good time. It's going to be fun. On that note, let's get after it.